You're welcome back to the Pulse on the Joy News channel on Multi TV. Now, I did promise that we'll have that conversation about post-election stress. We can have it right about now. In every election, from school prefect to even SRC president, one wins and one loses. But in a time like this, with 25 days to go to the elections, we have seen quite a number in the political space losing, and the kind of reactions we see. It tends to go pear-shaped. Some have issues financially, and it begins to wear them down. The big question is, how do we all deal with post-election stress? I know the post is not here yet, but the reality is that it will happen, and it has already for those who contested in the primaries. How do we deal with that element called post-election stress? Well, helping us for that conversation today is Notedwa. He's a clinical psychologist joining us in the studio. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Welcome, Clarence.
First of all, when one is stressed, is there any direct link between stress and politics?
Well, to the extent that politics places demands on people, then definitely there'll be stress-related issues.
Okay.
Stress is when you are, under pressure to meet some demand, and to the extent that you see yourself being able to meet the demand, there's minimal negative stress. There's also positive stress. But where you see yourself unable to meet the demands, then there's a negative fallout, and that's perhaps some of the stuff that we're seeing manifest in the course of the elections and the processes that lead up to it.
Okay.
So stress means you're reacting to and trying to meet a demand. So definitely in politics, as in life, there's stress.
Okay. Now, looking in the space of politics, we have seen since last year, in fact, for the political parties holding primaries for parliamentary candidates, also to choose a presidential candidate. A lot of people have lost the election. And we hear stories about people, taking to so many things, heading to courts, looking at options, or even going to see a deity because they lost an election. Some go independent. The reactions are many. But in your line of work, do you see a lot more of this happen?
I don't want to lead a discussion which suggests that some of what we're seeing is, in quotes, abnormal, right? You're geared up for something, you're goal-oriented, you are heading somewhere. Somehow you are blocked. So there's some frustration and some negative fallout. So if somebody is disappointed they lost, there's nothing abnormal about that. It is how they express that disappointment. For example, anger is not an illness, do you see? It's not a disease. It's how it's expressed, right? So if I want you, Francis, to know I'm displeased about something you've done, there's nothing wrong with my displeasure, per se. It's the manner in which I express it. So I don't want to suggest or lead a discussion that suggests that the fact that people are disappointed or even angry is not the norm. It is the norm, but because we are in civilization, we expect people to comport themselves in several ways. For example, you enter a competition, you know the rules and the structures of the competition. You know how a winner will be determined and how a loser will be determined, and what the requirements and criteria are. So should somebody fall short of this, for example, if you hit the post in football, it's not a goal. You hit the woodwork, right? There's no point screaming about that. And because you understand that, you're not going to claim, that should have been a goal. It hit the woodwork. So in the same way with elections, we have certain structures and criteria that will determine outcomes and determine who moves forward and who drops out. And we've got to learn to deal with these things. The same way in reality shows. You have an eviction and people are dying, right? But they entered the game knowing that these are the rules. And indeed, earlier on, other people had been evicted. So it's the same for politics.
Okay, let's put a human face to this conversation now. Kojo Osei-Afriyie is a former general secretary of the New Patriotic Party. In fact, the immediate past general secretary. Okay, the immediate past elected general secretary. He's joining us online. He's probably known as Sir John. Sir John, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Right. You had a very unique time at the last Congress of your party. You contested for re-election as general secretary of your party and you lost. Tell us, first of all, what you went through after losing, the experience of defeat.
Well, I think I joined the very interesting discourse at the tail end of it, and the examples that were being given I think that in theory, yes, I agree that as you enter any competition, you understand the rules. But there are times when, in spite of the rules, everything that you think that you've done, has been such as to win you the competition, and that if by some curious means, it could be either the bending of the rules, or for instance, somebody plays a football match, a penalty ought to have been awarded, it wasn't awarded, and that you lose the match. I'm not sure that you will say that, because it's a football match, and I know that somebody could win or somebody could lose, and that I've lost, and therefore, it is just that simple. It is not. I mean, or like you lose, two penalty kick-outs,
okay,
like Manchester City did the other time, and then maybe they say you lose the match. Obviously, you go to rue the day, and so it is not easy for you losing a context that you think you've done everything all right, that everything points to the fact that you win, like all the opinion polls are showing that you're winning, and maybe just by some sort of a split, you lose it. Yes, you've lost. You take it on your chin, but to say that it is easy and then you can go to bed and sleep, I have not known anybody who does
Okay, so
that.
Sir John, let's practicalize this. You have already stated here and now that it's not easy. When you say it's not easy, what does it mean?
Well,
For you, what was your experience?
Let me give you another example. My wife died in 1990 whilst I was in London. And even though she went to the hospital to deliver a baby and died as a result of hemorrhage. But sometimes you blame yourself. You think.
Mr. Osofre, do I have you on the line? Oops, I think we've lost him there on the line. But we'll try and re-establish contact with him. Very interesting thoughts he's given there about his personal experience in losing an election and the kind of effect it has on him. So, Mr. Notedua,
if I may, let me just, not to jump you, but he's suggesting that I'm implying that it's easy. No, I'm saying and stating categorically that awareness should be harnessed to help you cope. You see, I haven't said it's easy. I said I'm not willing to lead a discussion that suggests that this is abnormal or what he's describing is abnormal. No, it is a normal and expected, anticipated reaction.
Okay.
I'm saying in the circumstances it needs to be managed or better managed. We will all have difficulties, and I know the example he's about to give about the loss of his wife fits into exactly what I'm saying.
Okay.
So nobody is suggesting it's easy, but we are talking about politics and the challenge that people have managing these things. He's already suggesting that through curious means. Don't forget you had an adversary in this competition who might not agree or accept your notion or definition of curious.
Yes.
Right. You might disagree that this penalty should have been awarded or this should have been counted this way. So he's already showing the symptoms or the manifestations of what I'm talking about. Okay. But I have not suggested that handling defeat is easy.
Okay. Mr. Osofre, do I have you back on the line?
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
So yes, you were sharing your story with us about when you lost your wife, quite unfortunately, and how you took it.
Yes, and so I think the point that I was making is this, that when these things happen, sometimes it's like you blame yourself and say that if only I had been around, if only I had gotten the medicine that it was maybe written, maybe I could have saved this patient. Yeah. And that it goes so with politics. You go in, with a view to winning, and you believe that you've done everything right, and maybe at the last end, you ought to have been able to pay one or two things that you could not find the money to, and therefore you lose. You come back to think that if only I had been able to raise this kind of money, I would have been there. But like my brother said, it is, even though it is not easy, but you know, if you've been there before, and you understand that you could win or you could lose, you take it on the chin and console yourself quickly, and to dust yourself down, and then to give yourself a chance the next time.
Sir John,
and then you learn,
I remember
the
that
lessons out of that.
Right. I remember quite vividly when you were at the Congress and you lost the election for General Secretary. Yes, you had your concerns, but you mentioned one thing, that fear delegates. You said that in Chi, but I'm sure there's a deeper meaning to this. How did you take all of that? What was the kind of emotional process you went through from the time you were told, look, you've lost the election, up until now?
Again, let me give you one other example before I come there. I was at Otafoe contesting with Akoto Say in 2004, and then I lost narrowly to Akoto. I came back home almost in tears, because that was my first brush with the politics of that kind. And then when I got home and decided to organize a party for my followers, in the room I counted more people, who were delegates than the votes that I got. Then I asked myself whether or not indeed all these persons had voted for me. And if they had, I would not be the loser. And so people come and mourn with you in spite of the fact that maybe they have not voted for you. Which is why I say that you have delegates who are telling you that you are going to win. You have opinion polls, like in the U.S., that are all coming telling you that you are the front runner, you are leading by 7 percentage points, and so on and so forth. And so when you lose, in spite of that, wide margin, then you ask yourself what went wrong, and the answers would not come quickly. And so, but it depends on person to person. I go into an election not making it a life, a
life and death situation.
Life and death matter. So if I lose, I say to myself, well, what about if the other person has lost? So I quickly come round and then decide to work, even in spite of the loss. And I well remember after I lost at Tamale, the following day I was on the platforms working my socks out for the party, because I understood that once I've lost, there was nothing else that I was going to do. But it depends from person to person. There's somebody who for 1 year will not be able to get over, or 2 years will not be able to get over. But there are other people who can also get over back within the same day or the following day. It is like anger. Somebody is angry and he cools down quickly. Others can take long before they cool down. So I think it depends from person to person. But as I go in, I am determined and fortified that if I lose, it is not a matter of life and death. Life must go on, and then I must dust myself, down, and then put up another mantle and help in the best way that I can. I think that is my philosophy, and that is what I think strengthens me to be able to go
through.
I saw Mrs. Clinton speaking, and I could see from her face that indeed she would need counseling. Otherwise, it was not easy for her from the way that I saw her speak. But others, I've also seen Nana Akufo-Addo, who lost the 2012 elections, even after the court, and I saw how he was also able to, gather himself up and be able to congratulate President Mahama. And so I think it comes with some experience, some encounters, some bruising that you get, and maybe lessons learned. Out of that.
Okay.
But to say that it is easy, it is not.
It's not. To wrap up, just final question to you, Mr. Free, just before I let you go. There are many who are contesting, I'm sure, for the very first time in this election. What will be your admonition to them, especially for those who do not win the election?
You mean you want me to advise those who are...
I'm saying, based on your experience, what would you say to your fellow politicians who may be trying this for the very first time? When they lose, what should they do?
Well, the race is only going to be won by one person. whether it is close or not. 2008, Akufo-Addo had about 49 point something %, just of his car, and yet the runoff he lost. And so upsets do come in, successes do come in. When you win, you say you pat yourself on the back and say, I'm the best campaigner. When you lose, you must also dust yourself down and say that next time perhaps I'm going to learn lessons quickly and come round again and fight.
Okay.
Because there's a saying that he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. So once you fight and you don't win, then at least you encourage yourself that it is not over. And that you come back the next time again like boxing.
Okay.
You are beating, you come back again, and next time maybe you win. Learn from the lesson. So I'll urge that all of us, play it as a game, not as a matter of life and death. And so whoever wins, we all congratulate that person, and then the next time we come fighting, stronger.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Kojo Free, popularly known as John, former General Secretary of the NPP. Thank you for your time and the experiences you shared with us. Mr. Notedi, ending with you. You've had the experience of a politician. Yeah. Clearly not an easy one. But should we be thinking of maybe having politicians consider counseling after elections? Just so that whatever issues they have,
I wouldn't even label it as counseling. There's a whole area now we call emotional intelligence, right? EQ as against IQ. How do you manage these things? Because some of the things that are coming out, if I had paid certain monies, so you're under the impression that certain things influence the outcome, and in reality you realize they don't. We've had debates, we've had polls, right? Look, what is socially desirable to somebody? Maybe I support party X, but it's not socially desirable to announce such. So I paint myself differently. I have a screensaver, and I say I support this. But when I get into that ballot situation, I vote my true feelings. And so it's not about fearing voters, it's about realizing and understanding that you cannot predict their behavior. You can do your work and do your best, right? Sometimes your best is not enough, and that is the healthy aspect of competition.
Okay.
So if we all understand that and parties now start doing this, you see how quickly America has moved into a painful but albeit healthy transition process.
Yeah.
Obama had to sit next to Donald Trump.
The man he said was unqualified. Right. Yeah.
So this allows the system to sustain itself and to run. And if you have the wrong emotions and the wrong utterances, you end up compromising the system. And that is why they have 200+ years of democracy and we're still battling with the little we have. So we've got to start understanding these things and get into this mode of emotional intelligence. We don't have time to explain what that means, but we must know how to handle these situations.
Sure. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Notedi is a clinical psychologist sharing his thoughts with us on what we can all do at a time like this.